Business Club's monthly live stream. We're going to give it a minute or so just to make sure that everything is working. So we're going to pull up the live stream here and make sure that we are broadcasting on Facebook and on YouTube. If you are joining us, if you can see this, make sure to give us a comment. Tell us where you're calling in from, as they say, or where you're from, where you're watching this, what you do, anything you want, just so that we know that we have everything streaming. And it looks like it is streaming, so that's good. So we have a very special guest tonight. We have Lucie McGuire. Lucie, hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. I love doing these live streams because it's a great way for me to learn. So that's my selfish reason for doing them, but it's also a great way for us to share business insights with our community. I see we have Daryl joining us. Daryl, welcome. Thank you for joining us again on a live stream. So today we're going to be covering social media marketing, but specifically the title is How to Gain More Clients on Social Media. So we're going to go a little bit deeper than some of the surface level social media YouTube content that you see out there. And we're really going to try to help you as a small business owner get more clients using social media marketing. We're going to cover all different types of things, from recent algorithm changes to how things like ChatGPT is changing the social media landscape, to what's working, what's not, what mistakes are happening. And most importantly, we want to take your questions. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat and we will try to get to them either during the live stream or at the end. So your questions are absolutely welcomed. So with that, I want to introduce Lucie McGuire. Lucie is the founder of Get Real Social. And you are from Jensen Beach, correct?
I am born and raised right in Jensen Beach.
So you started your career in 2016, right? Is that when you got started?
Yes. So my career makes no sense if you look back at it all and everything. But I actually started, so I went to work at Papa John's when I was in high school. And I started off as cashier, moved up into management, then assistant manager. And by age 21, I had the opportunity to become general manager or marketer from Jupiter to St. Lucie West for 7 locations. So I chose Get Me Out of a Store. I'd been working there for 5 years at that point, and I was like, let's go into marketing. And I actually had a mentor at the time that I didn't realize was a mentor because I was too young to really realize that people are mentors, told me, you would be amazing at marketing and like, you should go out to the chambers. He's like, you're made for this. And I was like, what? Like, okay. And I did it. And here I am owning my own business years later. And it started, social media back then was a drop in the bucket, but we had social media and I did a lot more public relations and marketing, which I find a lot of marketers end up becoming, right? Because we've been in marketing for 8+ years, and then you take a shift into social media. If you like that route, there's obviously other routes, but it's been a very interesting journey. I worked at Papa John's for 7 years. The last 2 years were marketing. And then I backpacked Europe, came back, went to a title company because that's where I ended up getting a job. I thought it was going to be easy to get a job when I came back, and had a bachelor's degree, marketing experience, management experience. I was like, oh, it'll be easy. And it wasn't. And then I used my networking skills to go and say, hey, I'm looking for management or marketing positions. And someone actually followed through with that a few months later. And it ended up being at a title company for a real estate title, which I would have never guessed being in. But that led me to that. And then a few years passed in the pandemic, and then I started my own business. So it's been a very interesting journey.
Sometimes that's the best way to do it, where you got a whole bunch of different types of experiences and they all come together. And here you are. And now you're doing social media. Looks like we have a lot of people joining us. We have Emily, we have Jesse, we have Oksana, we have Christine, and we have Danny. Hey, what's up, everyone? So yeah, why don't we dive right in? So Lucie, you want to get started just by giving us an overview. I know I talked a little bit about some of the things we're going to cover, but I know you have a certain process that you use. Give us a little overview of what you plan on covering in the next 30 to 45 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you have a lot of questions and everyone else probably does too, but really, I know how many businesses understand social media is super important right now. And with the way that technology has changed, especially during the pandemic, I always say that the pandemic shifted us into the future about 10 years. And so here we are in this new technological world that a lot of people are trying to figure out. And a lot of businesses have been marketing themselves. Maybe they've been in business for a long time, a short period of time. And there's been an old style way of marketing yourself. And so a lot of times people go onto social media and they have that same mentality of like, okay, I'm going to get my business out there and I'm just going to start posting. But then they lose some different strategic aspects and they forget that these social media platforms are created for a social aspect, right? People aren't going onto these platforms to get sold. They are going on here to connect with friends, connect with family, to see their favorite, recipes or whatever it might be. And businesses kind of don't think about that when they come onto it. And they really kind of do a more salesy approach because that's what they're used to. They're used to like, let me get my product out there and start selling it. So I have a lot of different strategies that I plan to cover today about how you can take a client on social media from a stranger to sold, but with doing it in a very organic and comfortable way that's going to connect with your audience, because at the end of the day, they aren't coming onto these platforms to be sold, but it's about the connection that they're creating with these businesses that actually leads them to being sold.
Right. Yeah, that's the key. I think a lot of people misunderstand or misuse social media from a business standpoint, and they focus on the wrong metrics, and they're not really focused on like what are those ultimate business goals. So, speaking of business goals and metrics, like what are some of the things business owners should pay attention to? Because I know way back in the day, everyone was obsessed with getting likes or getting followers or what we would call vanity metrics. What are some of the metrics you think are important these days?
So the number one metric I would tell any business to pay attention to is your engagement rate. And that is it. Actually, what's really great is the platforms have started to change their analytic structure so that you can actually see very clearly what your engagement rate is. But essentially what engagement means for those, I know that those are kind of terms that we use in the marketing world, is that when you put out a post, how many people are responding to it, interacting with it, commenting? That's what's really important, because at the end of the day, I feel like a lot of businesses end up posting and they think that they just need to post. They're like, I just need to get some posts out there. I just need to get it out there. But they're not really thinking about what their audience wants, what their audience needs. They're really thinking about it from a selfish point of view of like, I need to get content out there. I need to sell more of my business, and not what their audience needs. So what ends up happening is they just post out there. Nobody's really listening. Nobody really cares. And they don't get traction, and then they get frustrated. They're like, well, nobody liked my post and nobody's engaging with it, or nobody's doing this, but they really have to start thinking about how they're communicating with those people. So that engagement rate is really important, because that'll tell you if your content is what people like. And if it's not, then you need to readjust. You need to say, okay, they didn't like this post. What could I have done better? Rather than saying, blaming the algorithm, which is what the first thing everybody wants to do, is say, the algorithm hates me and it's not because of me, it's because of the algorithm. Like, we need to look and inflect on ourselves and be like, what could I have done better in this post to make people want to read and listen to it or view it?
Exactly. It's all about the value and the content. Let's welcome some of the folks that are joining us. So we have Fabiola, welcome. And Armand, new to PSL. Welcome to PSL. You say you're from Massachusetts. That's awesome. Let us know what part of Massachusetts. And for everyone joining us, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. That's really the number one way you can get value out of these live streams, is to get your specific marketing questions answered, or whatever the topic is. So today it's all about social media marketing. So Lucie, I know you have a framework or a strategy for helping people think through that. Do you want to walk us through at a very high level what that looks like, so that we have sort of a roadmap that we can continue the conversation with?
I would love to. So my framework, and I want to start off with an example and then piece it back to the framework, because I think it really nails it home for people. Because a lot of business owners have been to a networking event at some point, right? Especially your networking event, right? So, which we love to hear. So going to the networking aspect of things, when you go to a networking event, you don't go to a networking event and you don't shake someone's hand and say, "Hi, my name is Lucie McGuire and I do social media management and you should buy my product," right? You start off with a conversation, you get to know one another. If it leads to a different direction of you guys having coffee because you guys are interested, then you do that. Then it gets you to a point where, hey, you are going and maybe you know that person or that person knows who you are, but maybe they don't need your services right then and there, but they're referring you and you have that relationship, and when they need you they're going to reach out to you, and then when it comes the time they're going to need your services, they call you, right? Because that's essentially how networking works, right? In a very, very brief overview of it, you're creating these relationships. And so how I've broken it down into a framework is I call it the BITS model. So you got to take it bit by bit. BITS. So the B is brand awareness. People can't do business with you unless they know who you are, right? So when you go on to social media and you start to post on social media, if people don't know who you are and they don't know, like, and trust you, right? That's what you're trying to create on social media. It's like an extension of networking. And so that brand awareness is you posting about what you do and what value you're bringing and creating that value. It's getting your content out there in a way that isn't salesy, but telling about the story or the personality behind what you're doing as a brand, right? So that's the first step. You just have to get them to know who you are. But then what happens on social media, just like the coffee date that you would go on with someone that you meet in person, is they go to your profile. So if you create an engaging piece of content and then they're like, oh, wow, that was really great. I really enjoyed that. Or I learned something from that. What are they going to do next? They're going to either like, engage, comment, which the algorithm picks up on, or they might even take the step of going to your profile and being like, who is this? Or what is this business? And what can I learn more? And then they go to the follow button, right? But they just came from that brand awareness stage, right? So they're brand new. They're following you and they're like, I want to hear more from you. So that's that next step, which is the I. So B is brand awareness, I is interest. When they take that interest is when they're taking that next step of saying, I want to hear more from you, right? That doesn't mean you sell them right there. You're just continuing to build that relationship because you're still new. But that interest is that second step. After that is the trust gain, just like I was talking about, where you're at that networking event and people know you and they might be referring you and they've never used your service, but they have gained enough trust with you that they believe you are with full confidence that you are equipped to handle whatever it is that you sell. And so that is that third step. And then after that, after you've gained their trust and they get to that point of needing your services, that's where the S comes in. So BITS. And the sold comes in by you staying top of mind to them, continuing to build that relationship and continuing to stay in front of them on social media, because it's a really great way to get in front of hundreds, if not thousands of people by posting one piece of content or multiple pieces of content. That is, in my opinion, the best way to bring them from that stranger to sold. But a lot of businesses think it goes from brand awareness to sold. And they're just like, that's it. And they're like, I posted, they should know who I am and they should trust me and they should buy from me. And that's like it. And so that's where I see a lot of people aren't focusing on the middle of just building the relationship, because at the end of the day, it's all about cultivating conversation. If you get anything from this, that's what it should be.
That's important.
Trying to create a conversation.
And that's the hard part, right?
It is. It can be. And a lot of businesses, they struggle and they say, I don't know what to talk about, or I don't know what to say. And I'm like, listen, you talk about this every single day. And this is your business, right? So you started this business. You didn't start it just because you picked up and found a random topic you wanted to sell on. No, like, you have a passion for this. You're talking to people every single day. And so I always tell people, like, start off with, what are people asking you right now? If people are asking you questions and you get the same question twice, tell people, take that, create a video on it and talk to other people about it, because that is what will help you to create that conversation with other people. And you're answering the question, because if two people or more have it, other people have that same question.
Exactly. And speaking of questions, we're here to take your questions. So if anyone has a question about social media, drop it in the chat. See, we have James joined us. Welcome. And No joined us. And Armin, so you're from Quincy. Awesome. Well, St. Lucie, I'm sure you're going to love it here. It is a rapidly growing area. So yeah, while we wait for some questions to come in, why don't we talk about
Daniel's comment?
What's that?
Daniel's comment. Are we not just supposed to sell products 30 seconds after meeting someone? Right. I mean, obviously.
Right, exactly. That's the worst thing to do, possibly. But yeah, that's what happens all the time. So I think the elephant in the room is AI and ChatGPT and all this AI content that's flooding the not just the social media world, but in marketing, with SEO and with content creation and copywriting. It's just becoming something that we have to leverage, something we have to deal with. Where does that fit in with the current state of social media when you're looking at all the different opportunities out there and the tactics and the strategies? Yeah, what is your take on how AI and ChatGPT is influencing that?
Yeah, so it's a huge piece of it. And I go to a social media conference every single year out in San Diego that is super valuable. And I always look at the trends of what they talk about. And this last year, just a couple months ago, everyone was talking about AI and how they've implemented it. The biggest creators, the biggest mouthpieces of social media across the world were talking about it. And it has definitely disrupted things, which I think a lot of people are a little afraid of, and I get it. It can seem like a lot, especially with the power that it can do. But I do want to remind people that with AI and how it will become integrated into our daily lives, that AI is not out to replace people. AI is better with humans. So I think when people think of AI, they think of it as a replacement tool. They're like, it's going to replace me, etc. But I want you to think about it like this. Like, you will not be replaced by AI, but you will be replaced by someone who knows how to use AI. And so it's not AI or human, it's AI plus human is the key. And if you can see that this is like the beginning of when websites first came out, people were super like, no, we're not going to need a website. You're crazy. No, that'll never catch on. People were very skeptical. We are in that exact same phase right now with AI. And if I can encourage you to do anything, it is to at least find at least one, maybe two tools that you're comfortable with delving into a little bit and start to implement it, because it is going to become one of those things that it's rapidly going. Last year alone, over 100,000 AI apps came out. Like,
Wow,
it's
that's
insane
incredible.
how quickly it is happening. Yeah. And so the boat is going to leave you if you don't jump on it. So I always like to tell people like that, especially with social media. So with social media, you're going to see a lot more of AI-driven content. So content created completely with AI, but it's never going to take away, in my opinion, the fact that there's a human behind that creating that, and that you could be integrating. There's some really cool ways that you could be duplicating yourself to create content, like with you and your your body. I've done an AI course on that. It was really really intriguing, and seeing people's faces, they were like, "What did you just do?"
Crazy. Yeah.
Even just knowing that it's not just a tool. It is not a tool. It is like you're communicating with something. And so when you look at Microsoft Word, that is a typewriter, right? But ChatGPT is a writer, right? So you have to have a communication with with this new tool. I don't like to call it a tool because it's much more than that. And just utilize it in your business, but realize that you need to continue to put that human touch into what you're doing. Because I can tell you, if I see a post that is directly copy and pasted from ChatGPT right now, I can tell.
You can tell.
And your audience can tell too, just with a crazy amount of emojis. It's using words you don't use. You know, you have to get it.
Yeah, it'll get easier to tell. It's like intuition almost. You can just get a sense for it. And it's only been a year really that it's been out. So imagine as we are much more comfortable with AI, it'll be much easier for a human to detect AI. And there's tools that can detect AI content, but it's still, I totally agree with you. It's a tool to leverage. I like using it where I'll come up with an idea for a piece of content, but I'll use something like ChatGPT to really flesh out the specifics of, what specific points within that idea I should cover. And so I think it's all about a balance.
Great way to like word dump into. Like sometimes if you just need to like get some ideas, like I'll word dump into it. I'll be like, this is what I'm thinking. And I'm like, make it sound better. And then it can shape up your ideas and give you a starting point. I always tell people, like, don't take it just word for word what it's saying, like use it as a starting point.
Yeah. Looks like we have a great question from Christine. And Daryl wants, he agrees. This is a question we should cover for sure. So Christine says, you said engaging profile. Should we have a lot of info on our profile? What do you think?
So it depends on where you're talking about on your profile. Like if you're talking about posts or if you're talking about like in your bio section, those are two very different aspects. But when you talk about a lot, I'll kind of cover just both, just in case wherever the question goes. So when you're talking about posting, you want to make sure that you're creating posts, not just a post, but you're creating posts that are effective for your brand and that make sense with a content strategy. When it comes to looking at your page, you want to make sure that it's very clear when someone comes to your page that they know who you help, who you serve, what you do, and where they can go next. So I always tell this to people, it's very clear to see on an Instagram profile, right? Instagram bio's huge. If you haven't optimized yours, you really should. And that first line being like, what do you do? And then who do you help? And then what steps should they be taking next? Because that's what people are looking for. If they wanted to get to work with you, you need to make it really easy so that they can get to work with you. But also just being very consistent on that across all your platforms is really important. So I hope that answers what you mean. If you mean a little bit more about content, I'm happy to delve into that, Christine, if you want to clarify exactly what you mean by, or what your question is. But I think that looking at your bio is really important.
That was a fantastic answer. Also, we have a question from Daryl. When it comes to promoting your brand, is it best to have a mix of your logo and a face behind the business? What do you think?
Very good question. So it depends on your business. And I think a lot of people get confused with this. So there is, and I break this down as there's a business brand and there's a personal brand, right? So realtors, mortgage lenders, travel agents, insurance advisors, right? Those are personal brands. And personal brands should have a face. You should have all of your profile pictures be you and your face, your professional headshot, because people at the end of the day do business with people. And so you need to make sure that that is coming through with your profile. But with those specific industries and any personal brand, people are doing business because of you. You are the outlier, right? If they go to an insurance agent, they expect them to be able to sell them insurance, right? But it's you that's the difference in there. So with that, yes, you should have your face behind your brand, and you should be showing your face behind the brand, because if you don't, then again, you're not getting that connectivity of like, hey, I'm the reason, I'm the difference that's going to make your experience that much better, right? Business brands, on the other hand, like think of Nike, think of, a restaurant, right? A restaurant isn't going to put a profile picture of a person behind it. They're going to put a picture of their business logo. But in their content, they should have people in it, because again, people do business with people. So if you get your staff or your manager or the owner or whatever it is, you should be making sure that you're integrating people into your content. And I know sometimes businesses don't want to do that. They're like product focused, etc. But again, on social media, people are looking to connect. So they want to do it with people.
Yeah. And sometimes, it means you just need two profiles maybe. Cause and I know this is another thing that a lot of businesses struggle with. For instance, I have the Port St. Lucie Business Club profiles with the logo for the club, but then I have my personal profiles and I try to keep the content very specific on each. I don't try to just share everything on both. And so if you're if you think about the strategy very clearly on this is what I'm going to share on this type of channel, and this is what I'm going to share on this type of channel, I think it helps a little bit. What do you think about that? Like managing multiple brands?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of people, especially in those categories of personal brand that I talked about, they automatically want to use their personal page as a business page. And so there is a method that you can do that called professional mode. But I do recommend, if you're in those industries, to have your own business page that is specific to your brand. Because at the end of the day, when someone is friending you, like your friends on Facebook or your family, et cetera, they care about you and they want to see you succeed. But a lot of times what those people end up doing is only ever posting about business. And you really deplete from your audience, where your audience is like, they care about you, right? And there's no personal side being shared. And then when people get confused when I posted a picture of my dog and I got 100 likes and I never get any of that on my business content. And I'm like, yeah, because they're like craving just content from you, and all you keep doing is spewing business content at them. So I think that it is very important to have that distinction that like, hey, I'm a person, I have these things that I care about. And that's how people connect. I've had people connect on my stories because I talked about, I'm a foodie. I love food. And so I'll post about the places I go to eat. And I've had people be like, oh my God, I love that place too. And then all of a sudden they're filling out my 30-minute consultation to do business with me. I'm like, okay. So we have to think about it from that point of view too. And I do want to, he kind of, or no, it was someone else. No, Armin said that he's, as a broker, he often dabbles with this, and he wants to push his brokerage logo and everything, being a one-man show, etc. But as a broker, you know, your brokerage, if you have a brokerage, if it's your own brokerage, should be a business logo. That should be the logo. And then you should have a broker page talking about you as your brokerage, because a brokerage is going to have much more to it than just your face, right? A brokerage is multiple agents. So get all of their faces on there if you can strangle them all to do it, you know, or rope them all into doing it. So yeah.
That's a good point. And Armin has another question, which I really appreciate this question because it's very specific to selling, which that's the focus of what we're trying to talk about here, social media, to get more clients and to get more out of social media. So Armin's question is, what platform, Facebook, Google, YouTube, Instagram, etc., used by the general public do you find to be the best for selling?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do think it can depend a little bit on your audience, but other than that, I believe that it's Instagram. Instagram is the best for selling. There's so many ways to connect with your audience on Instagram. You have your reels, you have your stories, which is a totally underused aspect by businesses. Yes. Stories is connecting with your followers. And a lot of times businesses are so focused on getting new followers that they don't even think about, hey, what about the 300, 500,000 people who are already following me? Like, they want to hear from you too. And you should be keeping them engaged with the content that you're posting. So stories, you can go live on Instagram. And I just feel like the platform, the way that it's set up, is very just conductive for bringing in business. They have a lot with, if you have retail products, you can connect to their shop, but also there's some DM automation solutions that you can do, like ManyChat, if you guys have ever heard of ManyChat. But you can use those DM automations to create an engagement campaign where you're talking about something in your video, and then having them say, hey, drop in the comments happy, and you'll get access to whatever you're talking about in that video, and then it will automatically send them a DM automation to that. So that's a really great feature with Instagram. It works for Facebook too, but Instagram just has a really unique way that their platform is set up to be able to communicate with your audience, and they're continuing to push out more opportunities with some of the channels that you can create now. You can create a channel just for your audience, etc. So
yeah, and I totally agree with you there. Instagram would be where, if I had to pick one platform, especially for a local business, I feel like local business happens on Instagram. Because if you look at something like TikTok, I spent a year on TikTok really trying to, be diligent about posting every day and going viral and all that stuff. And I was able to build up a lot of followers, but then you look at the value of it, the ROI, and it just wasn't there. You can easily get the views, but what are they really doing? Instagram, I feel it's so easy to build a local audience. Yeah.
It is. It's easier to connect with people when people follow someone on Instagram. The follow means more on Instagram than it does on TikTok. People follow anybody on TikTok. It's kind of like when Instagram first came out. So if you see those accounts that have 10 and 20,000 followers and they're very inactive, it's because back in the day, Instagram used to be super easy. But yeah, you're right. TikTok is just, it's a lot different of an audience to try and sell to. And I'm glad you actually brought that up, because I do want to talk about virality for
please. Absolutely.
So many people, they come to me and they're like, oh, how do I go viral, or how do I do this? Everybody's obsessed with going viral. And let me tell you that most of you guys aren't ready to go viral, first of all. Second of all, a lot of the content that would go viral, because some people are like, oh, I posted a video of my dog and it went viral. Listen, that isn't going to help you in your business. If you posted a video about something that has nothing to do with your business and it goes viral, that's all those people care about. Right. They don't care about your business. They care about the dog. And if the dog isn't what you're selling, then they don't care. So when we think about virality, we have to keep in mind that we are businesses at the end of the day. And yes, that can really help in boost your business up a different level, but that should never be the goal. Again, if you have 1,000 followers, you connecting with 1,000 people is a lot. Yeah. I have people tell me all the time that they're like, oh, I only have 300 followers. I'm like, if you put 300 people in a room, that's a lot of people, right? You're going to be a little nervous to be on that stage. So we need to stop looking at these numbers as, like you mentioned earlier, vanity metrics. and more look at them as people, because if you have 1,000 followers and you have 1,000 true followers, that's what they say is like the number, right?
Yep.
You will continue to be successful, and you going viral isn't going to make your business successful automatically. You have to have a lot of systems in place actually to be able to capture that viral audience, which a lot of businesses just aren't set up for. So
yeah, and I mean, we could go into a whole tangent on TikTok and how that algorithm is built in a different way, where it's not even about followers. It's not even trying to encourage followers. It's just trying to encourage what content is going to get, the people interested and keep people in the app. So it's like, if you're trying to play the follower game on a platform that doesn't even itself value followers, it's kind of a slippery slope. But then there's other platforms, like, let's say YouTube Shorts, for instance, which I feel is like a sleeping giant, where you have all this search opportunity, because YouTube is owned by Google. It's the #2 search engine in the world that's owned by the #1 search engine in the world. And when people are searching for something and they find your video, whether it's a short form or a long form video, that is very valuable, because that's a high intent viewer, right? Because they're looking for it. What are your thoughts on YouTube Shorts?
I think YouTube Shorts are a great opportunity. I also do tell people, if they're going to get into the YouTube game, it's a long con game.
It is.
All right. It is not like, people tell me, oh yeah, I want to start my YouTube channel. I'm like, are you ready for that? Like, that is a lot of work. If you're not even doing Facebook and Instagram right now, like, you better not even like think about YouTube, in my opinion. Unless I've had some clients like want to do the work and get it done, but I think that you have to be dedicated to that platform of YouTube if you are going to start implementing content to it. You have to be dedicated to being consistent. And but I think it's a great platform. You're right about the searchability, and it is owned by Google. But what's really interesting now actually is all of the platforms are starting to do that with SEO metrics. SEO is a part of every single platform, and the searchability. So TikTok, it's really funny because a lot of people don't realize how these platforms kind of compete with one another. Like Facebook and Instagram, they're competing with TikTok, right? TikTok created this short form content, and it's changed the game for everybody. But TikTok isn't even worried about Facebook and Instagram. It is worried about YouTube. It's competing with YouTube. They keep making their videos longer, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, now 10 minutes. And now they're testing 30-minute long videos on TikTok, and now they're trying to bring it back to the horizontal, flip your phone to be able to view this video. Like, they're creating all of these things to compete with YouTube, because they know that is their true competitor with the searchability. So YouTube, I think, is a great tool to utilize and have in your business as a plan in the future. If you haven't started on the other platforms, it's great for searchability. You should definitely have a YouTube channel set up for your business if you don't already. I always tell people to set up all the platforms, get your username on all of them to begin with. Make sure they're all consistent. So that at Instagram, at Get Real Social Coach, at PSL Business Club, I think it is, right? So that should be consistent on all your platforms. So that's the first step. And just making sure you have that. And then when you're ready to take that next leap into YouTube and the long form, there's a lot of cool things you can do, long form content to short form content. And it just takes a lot of time.
I love that you mentioned that. Yeah, it's definitely it's a separate journey, but it could be very worthwhile for a lot of businesses. Maybe we'll do a live stream just on YouTube in the future, because there's so much we could dig in to that with long form versus short form. So we won't go there, because we have a lot of questions to get to. I want to get to a lot of these. So Danny is our sponsor for almost all of our events, and he's sponsoring our next networking event, which is on Tuesday. I hope everyone is coming out on Tuesday at 6. What is it? 7? I can't even. I think it's 6 p.m. It's in Port St. Lucie. All the information's in our Facebook group. But Danny is the owner of DB3 Financial, so he's a financial advisor. And his question is, how would you approach creating a cohesive identity across social media platforms? What do you think, Lucie?
Yeah. So kind of what I was just saying right there, right? With your username being one of those. I actually do these a lot in my deep dives that I do, because a lot of businesses don't have them set up properly. But making sure that your cohesive identity across all these platforms, you have the same clear profile picture that is readable if it's a logo, not cut off if it's a logo, but also if it's your face, you need to make sure that it's a really good headshot of you, making sure that that's consistent across all your platforms, making sure that when we set up your YouTube and your Facebook pages, like the banners that are on them, that's consistent from your YouTube to your Facebook channels, that your messaging on your bio is consistent on your Facebook bio, mini bio that you have on your page, and on your YouTube and on your Instagram and on your TikTok, that's the same, that it's clear and concise to who you're speaking to. And that will help create that when someone comes to that page, they know it's the same brand, right? Because I see a lot of people like have different profile pictures on each of them or whatever, if they're personal brands, etc. And so making sure that you truly have that consistency across all of them, or if you go to all of them, you're like, wow, these are the same person. That will help you to create that consistent, cohesive brand of when people come to that, they know it's you and they're not confused. I see a lot of different usernames on different people. Like people have their business card and it's like 5 different usernames on 5 different platforms. And I'm like, why do you have these underscores and periods? Please stop putting underscores and periods in your username, please. Thank you. Just a quick little.
I agree with that one. Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah. Looks like we have, let's see, there's a question from, let's see, how often should you post? Christine's asking, how often should you post?
I love that question. Thank you for asking, because a lot of people, whenever I'm in a room and I'm teaching a class, I'm always asking, like, how many times do you think you should be posting? I want to get people's answers. And a lot of times they're like 7 times a week, 5 times a week, every day, whatever it is, right? You should be posting as much as you can keep consistent. Okay. And I know that there are a lot of people out there and there's a lot of coaches that will tell you, you need to post every day to be consistent. But I'm telling you right now, if your content is bad and you are just posting to post and you're stressed out, you're going to post every day for a week and then you're going to drop off the face of the earth, and that's not going to do anyone good. Okay. So you need to be consistent. If that consistency starts with 1 time a week, great. Quality over quantity at the end of the day. It doesn't need to be perfect. Let me just say that. It does not need to be perfect, because you will learn as you go, and your first 100 posts are probably going to be like not up to your standard. I look back at my old posts and I'm like, ugh, from a year ago, like it wasn't bad, but I'm like, it could have been better, because I'm consistently learning.
Yeah.
So, you have to give yourself grace and not being perfect, but also making sure that you're putting value behind your posts and you're not just posting to post. So once a week. And then if you want to do 2, if you can get up to 2 times a week being consistent, you can always add more. And I tell people also to look at a month-long content strategy, right? So if you have a month of content, that's 8 posts. If you're posting twice a week, fill out those things. What are the 8 posts that you want to do? And once you get through that, then you can continue to add more, and you can do 3 posts a week. But a lot of times people are overwhelmed with just 2 times a week. So do what you can do to keep consistent on your platforms, and that will serve you and your audience better.
That's a great answer. Let's get to Noah's question. And Noah, sorry for mispronouncing your name earlier. I should know better, because we met at the Fort Pierce Business Exchange a few weeks back. So Noah is asking, any suggestions regarding when to share a reel versus a video on Facebook for maximum exposure? I have noticed when sharing videos, the amount of people that would usually like the content doesn't get exposed to the same audience as much as when posting photos. Sometimes the more in Instagram than Facebook. Interesting question. What do you think, Lucie?
Yeah, it's kind of not showing me the whole question here. Let me get it on the side here. Reels first.
Yeah, I think the gist of it is reels versus videos.
Yeah, there is a difference between reels versus videos. So reels versus videos is a big one that a lot of people don't think about when they're posting a video. First of all, reels is short form content. Under 1.5 minutes on Facebook and Instagram, under 60 seconds on YouTube, and TikTok has up to 3 minutes, depending on what platform you have or what account you have. They have different metrics for everybody, but it's up to 3 minutes for most accounts now. So short form content is that under 1.5 minutes. And then anything longer than that turns into a video and is posted as a video. Reels, again, are the big push that these platforms are doing, the short form content. They have the Reels tab on Instagram and Facebook. They're pushing people to do Reels. So that's where you're going to get the most traction, is doing it through Reels. And the long form videos, honestly, people's attention span is very low. People don't have the attention span to watch more of a video. And if it's a longer video, 1.5 minutes can actually be a long period of time if you actually sit there for 1.5 minutes and keep someone engaged for that portion of time. So what I would say is make sure, if you have a longer form of content, see if you can snip it down to that short form content, or take out pieces of it, like the really good parts it actually kind of brings up a really great point I wanted to make sure I said. Stop introducing yourself in the beginning of your videos.
Please. Thank you. Yes.
Stop it. They don't need to know your name. Like, if they need to know it, they'll go, your name's probably right there at the bottom of the personal page.
Nobody cares, right? That's the truth.
Hi, good morning. How are you? Like, they're having like a whole conversation with themselves in the beginning. And then that's really bad for watchability when they're rewatching it, right? So you're wasting 10 seconds right there, because guess what? The most important aspects of your video are the first 3 to 6 seconds. If you don't capture them in that first hook, they're gone. And then you've lost their attention. So if you're like, hi, my name is Lucie, it's so good to be on here today, then they're gone and you've lost their attention. The people who like you or know you already are going to stay maybe, but that's not what you're trying to do. So just stop introducing yourselves, just get to the point, create a hook in the beginning that tells them exactly what they're going to get, and don't waste their time when you're creating that video too.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that's one of my biggest pet peeves. I have 3 big pet peeves when it comes to like short form content. One is music being too loud. The other is the intros and just wasting those first few seconds of, hello, my name is Nicholas from the Port St. Lucie Business Club. No, it's check this out. Like, I did a video where I was pointing to a sign in the background. I said, hey, you know what sign that is? It's just a, it's a way to get people pulled into the video and then just get into it. I know Christine is still on here. So like when Ben does a video for Ben's pest control, you could point to a beehive and say, hey, look at these bees buzzing around. That's a great way to start the video versus, and I'm not saying you do this, but versus if you were to say, hi, this is Ben from Ben Pest Control with the pest control tip of the week. You get right into the meat and potatoes of it. And then you can always circle back mid video or towards the end and say, this has been your pest control tip of the week. I'm Ben, give us a call, things like that. So it's that initial hook is so important. And then my third pet peeve is when people just talk about themselves and there's like no value, it's just selling a product, selling a service. But I think we've all seen that happen. Do you have any pet peeves?
I hope that people aren't continuing to do that. They really need to switch their mindset, right?
Yeah.
These are people that just want to connect. They don't, they're not on there to be sold right away.
Yeah. Let's see. We have a question from James. What's the best way to grow your Instagram followers?
That's a really great one. So I would say one, consistent posting is going to help you a lot. Creating a strategy so that you can get an actual plan behind what your content is about, because if you just kind of fly by the seat of your pants, you're not gonna really, I'm not saying that you can't have successful content, but having a strategy is really gonna help you to lay down the foundation of, hey, what is it that I'm creating that is valuable for my audience, and how I can help them, continue to help them and showcase what we do and our expertise with that. And I would say make sure you're doing videos and reels. Like, that's really the best way. When you are doing your posts and your carousel posts, so carousel posts, for, again, terminology in our industry, is just multiple pictures in a post on Instagram. So when you're swiping through, that is a really great way to educate your audience on things and educate your following, but also other people when you're creating it through your hashtags. Reels is a really great way to get in front of new people, right? So your reels are more likely to get in front of new people, and then your stories are just for your audience. So you have to know which pieces of content are going to reach which part of your audience, and reels are always known for getting in front of new people. But again, just like we were giving some tips, you want to make sure it's effective videos and that's going to speak to your brand. Just like I was saying with the BITS model, the brand awareness, interest, you want to get them to the interest point. You want to get them to where they're like, oh wow, that was so valuable. Like, who is this person? I need to go to their profile and learn more about them and follow them. That's how you're going to gain that new following. And just don't forget about your followers that you currently have.
And I like Danny's like, just buy robo followers like all the other influencers, because we know that's what they're doing. But no, don't do that.
Can I just say something about that really quick? Because it gets me when people are like, oh, well, oh my gosh, I love the content this one person posts and they have like 20,000 followers. And then I'll be like, oh, what stuff? Like, what is it? And I'll go to them and I'm like, they have 10 likes on their post.
No engagement.
20,000 followers and only 10 people like your post. If I get more likes on my post than you do, like, I'm not impressed.
Right.
Like,
like you said, it's 1,000 true fans. That's what matters. It's the quality over quantity.
Absolutely.
Let's see. We have a few more questions here we'll try to get to. Let's see. Oh, boosting. Okay, so Christine has a really good question here that ties into just the difference between paid advertising and organic social media. The question is, when we do Facebook, is boosting worth the cost? So for anyone who doesn't know what boosting means, it means putting some ad spend behind that post to let it reach a wider audience. Lucie, what's your take on that?
I love that you asked this question. Thank you so much. So let me just explain really quick the difference between organic and paid ads before I get into it, because the boosting is definitely something when business owners go to it, they think they need to spend money on social media and they're like, oh, I need to put ad dollars in it. I get it all the time, but when people realize that I focus on organic social media content for my clients, they're like, oh, wait, what? Like ads, they just kind of are taken aback a little bit sometimes because they're just so focused on the ads and like getting clients right away. And they're just like kind of wanting that straight to the finish line, like we were saying with the model that I was mentioning. So with paid ads, it's you forcing yourself in front of people, right? Like I always describe it as like, it's when we're going through our Facebook pages, like, and you see an ad, a lot of times you're like, oh, get out of it. You're like swatting it away, right? But with your organic content, you want to make sure like it takes people engaging with it organically for it to actually grow. And that means people actually care about what you're posting and they like what you're posting. They want to continue seeing what you're posting. And I find that more valuable than an ad, right? I'm not saying that there's not a time and place for ads, because there definitely is, and both done very well can bring a ton of business into your business. But what I want to say is, if you haven't identified what organic content you can create that without the paid ads, that is truly impacting your audience and connecting with your audience, if you haven't found that, if you haven't found out how to engage them without the dollars, then it's going to be very hard for you to actually create an effective ad to get in front of these people, because they're still on the same platform. They're still not going on here to be sold. You need to capture their attention. So if you find that organic content, find the content that does the best on your page that people are engaged with, and then you can boost that content and utilize that content after identifying what your audience likes best. That would give you the best success through boosting, but you don't need to boost in order to be successful on social media. Actually.
That's a great approach. Yeah, if you can't make it work organically, you're not going to make it work with ad dollars, because the content just doesn't resonate. So you got to, get the content figured out first, and then if you want to leverage paid ads, you can basically put fuel on the fire, but you got to have that fire going first. So I think you hit the nail on the head there. I want to thank some of the other folks who have joined us. Janetta joined us, Desiree, welcome, and Cynthia. So as we wrap up, this has been fantastic. Let me see if there's any other final questions here. Danny says, does having pine trees and statues in your background help with viewership? I think so. Yeah, it's a strategic. I'm testing what's going to get better viewership, the pine tree and the statue, or one or the other, or neither.
We're going to identify where your eyeballs are going, whether it's the statue or the pine tree next.
We're going to do some
through AI.
Yeah, but this has been great. I mean, just based on the questions, I think we've probably covered more questions on this live stream than any of the 5 or 6 live streams we've done in the past. So I know we it wasn't as structured as some of our previous ones, but this is why we do live streams. It's to get your questions. So Lucie, can you tell us more about how people can get in contact with you, where they can follow you, how they can work with you, all that good stuff?
Absolutely. So my username is the same on all my platforms at Get Real Social Coach. You can find me, you can follow me, you can message me anytime. I'm always open to questions. And I have a lot of courses that I do. So I have courses, online courses you can take today if you wanted to get started on at getrealsocial.com. So www.getrealsocial.com. You can find out everything that I have going on. I have a group coaching that I launched at the beginning of this year that has gone really great and is a really affordable way. I made it an affordable way for businesses to be able to get that content and help and accountability for posting through the strategies that I've been learning over the years, and just helping them in a DIY type of way for them, because I know a lot of times when people come to do social media management, which is another thing that we do, they are a little bit overwhelmed with how much it can cost, because it does take a lot to be able to create really consistent content that is really great for your audience. And we put a lot of time, heart, and energy behind it. So I'm always open to a free consultation. We have free consultation right on the getrealsocial.com. If you ever want any questions or if you have ideas of how you can make it more integrated into what your business is or you need help, we're always open. And we have, like I said, on that website right there, you'll be able to see all the courses we have. And I host free webinars every single month to help you guys a little bit and just help you along the way with different topics.
Awesome. I will share some of the links. I just shared your Instagram in the comments, and after this, I'll go back and put some more of the links to your other websites and all that stuff, so people can get in touch. But I encourage everyone to follow Lucie. Out of everyone I've met, I've been doing marketing since 2009. Lucie, you are just a wealth of knowledge. It's incredible. You cover every question flawlessly. You always have the right thing to say, so it's very impressive, and I appreciate that. I want to thank Jesse for joining us. I want to thank Fabiola for joining us, Oksana, everybody. Thank everyone for the questions. You can also RSVP to our next event, which is going to be a live networking event here in the Treasure Coast. It's going to be in Port St. Lucie on Tuesday night, 6 p.m. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Pizza, crepes, music, drinks, games. It's going to be indoors, outdoors. It's in front of Cam's Pizza next to That Crepe Place. And Janetta from That Crepe Place is here in our audience. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So RSVP, it's going to be a good time. And then if you're not in our Facebook group, definitely join the Port St. Lucie Business Club's Facebook group. We have 3,200 members. We have active discussions every single day. And that's really the best place to stay informed on everything that we do. So I'll give you, Lucie, you get the last word. Any final thoughts, tips, anything you want to share with our with our viewers before we go?
Yeah, don't be afraid of video. Don't be afraid to get your business out there. You have something of value to share. Don't let yourself discourage yourself because you have value. And if anyone ever tells you don't, like, go get new people to be friends with. I'll be your friend.
Love it.
So you guys can do it. We're not special, right? We all started somewhere. We all started off with not knowing, and you can do it. And I love, Nicholas, that you are doing these live streams to really truly educate our local business community, because we all don't know it all, and that's okay. So you all got it.
We'll figure it out together.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lucie. Have a great evening, everyone. Take